Hello everyone, my name is Jordan Fredericks, and I think it's high time that I went into the necessary details about the development and behind the scenes of Skit. You know, how it got its current name, why I decided to do it, how everything turned out, and, you know, all that. And I feel that when it comes to these types of videos, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, the best place to start is from the beginning.
My video making aspirations dated as far back as 2007. That was the year that I was first introduced to YouTube, about 2 years following the site's creation. Aside from using it to watch Camp Laszlo episodes, I used it to watch other types of videos, mainly revolving around gaming, like early versions of Machinimas, and even fittingly enough, shows like Arby and the Chief. A show that I remember quite fondly, and had inspired me to make stuff like it.
The whole idea of recording something and uploading it to the internet for everyone's scrutiny and praise was an idea that I've always loved, and this excitement just expanded all the way through to 2009 and the years following, where I was gradually introduced to a couple of YouTubers who pretty much drove me further into wanting to open up my own channel.
These ranged from YouTubers like Tomscar, MyChonny, Balloon Shop, and, fairly recently, Brandon Rogers. But the seed of enthusiasm was first planted with the introduction of Make Me Bad 35. His sketch videos truly made me want to find a camera and do the kind of stuff he did, with my own ideas of course, though they were more or less derivative of his. I'm not sure why I'm mentioning this, since nothing materialized from it.
But with the introduction to that channel and the rest of them, my love for the art grew, and I watched them endlessly just to learn from them and, you know, be inspired. Not just on a creative level, but also a technical level, in regards to like camera work and editing and props and all that stuff.
I had my start on YouTube back in 2009 on a channel called Greg Jr. 95 with YouTube Poops, all of which have aged as well as Greek yogurt, and by that I mean they were rancid to begin with. But it wouldn't be until I used my brother's phone to record footage for some actual video skits, all of which were not archived, lucky me.
It's worth mentioning that this is before I realised the importance of archiving your stuff. Even if you're not proud of them, you don't even have to circulate them. It's just best to keep it around for history's sake, so you can look back and see how much you've improved. Then, excitement. I received my first camera, and it allowed me to be more experimentative with my craft, to very low quality results. It was then I decided to make the channel essentially a shitpost channel with YouTube poop related content, and all my sketch comedy videos were put on the channel called GJ95 Studios, founded in 2010, and would later become my main channel. I also had several other channels for vlogs and behind the scenes and gaming channel. And with the exception of the gaming channel, I rarely used the other ones, and yeah, I'm not sure if I ever will, and if I do, it'll be for a specific purpose. But what can I say? I just always loved being organised. 2009 would also be when I met my first comedy partner, Judy, who was going under a different identity at the time, but just know I'm going to refer to her as Judy and by she and her pronouns, purely out of respect for her current identity. I remember the first two videos we made were actually made at the school, at a secluded area, during a time when all the students and teachers were still on their way over. I remember the day we first met, it was in detention, and the first thing, kid you not, I ever said to her was, "You know what they say, all toasters toast toast." And she got the reference like that. And it was then I realised that our humour was truly in sync. The first two videos Judy and I created did have some relationship to YouTube poop material, and I argue they probably had more thought put into them than the actual YouTube poops I produced back in the day, back in early 2009, which is when I first started YouTubing. Sadly, these videos are deleted, and to my knowledge, archives of them don't exist. And if by some miracle I find them, I might re-upload them to the channel, even though I don't think too highly of them, purely for the sake of history and nothing else.
In 2012, I deleted my channels. To this day, I don't know what possessed me to do that. I think it was because this was during a time when me and my partner decided to rename our little group to Project Potato, and during that time, YouTube didn't have the option to change your name. That was a really stupid decision in hindsight, and I lost a lot of viewers and subs as a result, and had to start from scratch on a channel called The Project Potato, as Project Potato was already taken. Since then, Judy and I worked on skits for a long time, taking inspiration from all sorts of sources and trying to make a formula and chemistry I felt worked, where Judy was the sane one and I was the childish idiot. Ironic in hindsight, if you ask me. When doing something artistic online, it's always a good idea to make a name for yourself, try and get your name out there. And me and my partner, during that time, we went through a couple of names for the channel before it landed on the final one, which I worked out by myself. When I first started content creation, I tried to market myself as GJ95 Studios. And this was before I began to quickly grow dissatisfied with it. It was then that Judy suggested the name Project Potato, which I had actually made a couple of logos for. The first one was made with a little clay model of a potato with a clock, antenna, and a couple of wires in it, put in front of a green piece of paper that was chroma keyed in front of a metal background I found on Google, with a stock spark effect coming off it. The next was a TV infused in a potato, which would later be recycled as the Game Mash logo on my gaming channel. It was then around 2016, I think, where we all agreed on the name Skit Studios, the logo of which Judy had actually made an animatic for.
Skit Stack!
Which I would later animate using Vegas Movie Studio 16 Platinum.
Skit Stack!
It was then around 2018 I decided to upgrade our intro as well as make some Halloween and Christmas ones. The upgraded logo, as well as the Halloween and Christmas logo, were actually made in Adobe After Effects for a school project I had at the time. And then, after Time Hopper was uploaded and the Skit Stack era was ended, I decided to rename the channel Jogging Fox Productions, with a logo I animated from the ground up using Krita. Krita would also be the program I used to animate the intro sequence for this very documentary.
As a budding creator, and as a human in general, I'm bound to make a lot of mistakes, and there may be some videos that end up getting scrapped, either because I ended up hating the idea, or at the very least I feel like they should have been reworked and thought about more critically. And in some rarest circumstances, it could be because the filming session was an absolute disaster. I'd say that, also counting the videos made before September 2012, which was when this channel would be made, as well as videos I took another stab at, I estimate that there are about 9 videos that we recorded that never went anywhere, and this is not counting the videos that were written, but were never attempted to be filmed. Either because we didn't have the props, locations, or budget at the time, or we just ended up hating the idea. It should be worth mentioning that Raph had actually written a couple of scripts for Skit Stack. However, I had to reject them. I did manage to adapt 2 of them, but the rest I had to reject because they were way too ambitious and demanded a high budget that I don't have. However, as a consolation, I did promise to adapt them into animations, and as I'm recording this video, they're still in production.
As for the 9 videos, these range from a time-travelling video concepted as far back as 2012, the concept of which would slowly be reworked into Time Hopper. The other 2 were a Smurfs video and an Ace Attorney inspired video on the same year, which also went nowhere sadly, and I barely remember the premise of either of them.
And you think after 4 years of doing this shit, that I'd have better planning skills, and the videos after that would actually be brought to life. And while that's mostly true,
As I've said before, there were 9 videos that I can recollect that were filmed but never finished. And I've only mentioned 3 of them.
There were 2 videos back in 2016, one of them being called Bringing Ideas to Life, which had portions refilmed, but it ended up being scrapped due to me losing enthusiasm. Interestingly enough, this was a refurbishment of a video once done in 2012, and you know what became of that. Fun fact, a piece of the second recording attempt was actually used in a small gag in the 500 subscriber special, Looking Back.
And the other was... Meme Slayer.
Your Wi-Fi modem was destroyed, Norman. How did you get back into the internet?
I used satellites!
A video that I scrapped because I ended up hating the idea. In it, I played a character with the most annoying screechy voice I think I've ever done in what I hesitate to call my career. This is what I imagine an amalgamation of all Nintendo fans sounding like.
I was just toying with you during that little chase scene!
This voice not only hurt my throat, but looking back at the footage, it left me with second-hand embarrassment that I got from myself. And in hindsight, the video idea sucked anyway.
The other 4 were just first recordings of Boredom 2, Clorox Aid, Hostage Situation, and Fist Gun. Shot in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 respectively.
There was also going to be a video featuring me and my mate Justin called Music Box. And nothing materialised out of that beyond a point form script and the prop itself. Unfortunately, no script was made, and of course, no footage was ever filmed, so the project got abandoned. And this was also because this was during a time where I wanted to end the live-action skits and focus more on animations.
Then there are videos I did complete and did upload, but then deleted because they were an old shame. Big mistake on my part. Not just because of the views that was sacrificed in the process, but also because there might have been a small percentage of people who enjoyed them for whatever reason. Probably ironically. And despite my dissatisfaction, looking back, I had a repertoire that, while low in quality, had a lot of heart and fun behind it, and to this day, I regret deleting them without archiving them.
I realise that in retrospect, that's all part of the filmmaker stint. Things are bound to go wrong, and when they go right, it's wonderful. And I can at least appreciate the learning experience that I gained from my failures, and I've made it my mantra to record and archive all my works so that I know what went wrong, so that I can ensure that there's a possibility that things can go right. And this concludes the first part of the documentary. Join me in the next part where I talk about the creative process behind everything.